just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
The Filipino American Cancer Care now brings you On the Air with FACC, tributes and support to those impacted by cancer. On the Air with FACC, the Filipino American Cancer Care on PHLV Radio.
Good evening, America. Magandang gabi dito sa Amerika. Good morning, Philippines. Magandang umaga, Pilipinas. Welcome sa PHLV Radio on the Air with FACC. Ngayong gabi, makakasama natin syempre ang ating station manager sa PHLV Radio, si Mr. Johan. At dito naman sa Virginia, my name is Josie Moralidad Azayman from the Filipino American Cancer Care. Siyempre, kasama natin ngayong Thanksgiving. Walang iba, gwapong-gwapo. Parating nakasuit. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Emerich Richie Vicente. Hi, Emerich.
Hello, Ate Josie. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy your turkey. Gobble gobble. It's so much fun to gather with the family and just think about what are the things that happen to you and you'll be thankful for. And I know we have a lot of survivors out there and cancer patients right now, and also the caregivers who have, despite of all of the challenges having cancer, they still have something to be thankful for. So good morning sa Pilipinas. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, and good evening to everybody. It is Friday again, and I'm really excited to our guest tonight.
Yes. Teka muna, Emerich. May itatanong ako sa iyo. Paano ka magluto ng turkey?
So I just did it. I actually started last year that, I have that chicken rotisserie thing that it rotates.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get a 16-pound turkey, and I did it there for like 2.5 to 3 hours. So
and
it was
very
so good.
easy, huh?
It was I just put it in and I put the stuffings in it, and it rotates for me for 2.5 to 3 hours.
Alam mo, Emerich, it takes me several years bago matuto talaga ng perfect na roasting, no? At nung una ako nagluto, kasama na yung mga giblets doon.
Yeah.
Yun pala ang pinaka-importante na wag mong isama kasi may mga papel yun.
Yeah.
Nasa loob. Next
Plastic.
pa yun.
Yeah, I know that one. I gotta remove. And then those giblets, those things, you can boil it together with your what do you call that? The sauce for oh my god, gravy, with your gravy.
Yeah, you can
That
make a
makes it
gravy.
Good gravy.
Yes, out of those giblets. Now, kasama rin natin sa ating programa ngayon ang isa sa ating mga officers sa communication, si Miss Jan Andrada. Hi, Jan.
Hi! Good evening sa inyong lahat and good morning, Pilipinas. So, happy Thanksgiving. So, speaking of Thanksgiving, what are we grateful for? Diba?
Yeah.
Before we start with our festivities table, we always pray and we ask, what are we grateful for? So, yung mga reflections natin, bawat isa. And of course, speaking of the turkey, nakita ko last year si Emerich, yung kanyang blow-by-blow account kung paano niya ginawa yung kanyang turkey. And that was really exciting.
Yeah,
At
do you
yan
remember
ang
that?
itatanong natin sa ating special guest ngayong gabi.
Oh,
Hindi lang
yes.
cancer ang pag-uusapan natin, kundi pati ang turkey. Okay. Now, I'm going to introduce our special guest tonight. And then, Emerich, you are going to say something about the background of her mom who passed away from colon cancer. Okay? Our special guest tonight is one of our board of directors of Filipino American Cancer Care. She came to the United States in 1986 with her twin sons, Patrick and Cedric. And she is the daughter of the late Dr. Ernesto C. Deza, a psychiatrist who practiced both in the Philippines or in Iloilo, Philippines, and in the United States. Kilalang kilala ang pamilya nila doon sa amin sa Iloilo. He died in the early 70s in the Philippines, and a year after, he retired. And now, Emmerich, would you like to tell something about her mom?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, Mary Brillantes Deza. She was born on November 2nd, 1927, and she passed away on September 26, 2012 at the age of 84. She was from Banate, and she's the daughter of Josefina Balderas Madrid and Francisco Brillantes. She graduated with a degree in education, but did not have an opportunity to teach because she married, of course, Ate Zen's father, Ernesto C. Deza. She had 3 children and basically took care of them and his husband and her husband. She was a loving mother and a wonderful wife to her dad, as Miss Ate Zenaida is describing her. In the late 1970s, she developed an Alzheimer's disease, and in her early 80s, she was diagnosed with colon cancer. She succumbed to the disease in 2012, among other medical conditions. For 2 years before she passed away, she had a colonoscopy and feeding tube.
Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of our Board of Advisors sa Filipino-American Cancer Care, si Mrs. Zenaida Deza Steinhauer. Hi, Ate Zen.
Hello, everybody. Good morning to maayong aga dira sa inyo sa Iloilo, sa mga naga-hambal Bisaya. And magandang umaga sa inyong lahat dyan for those who are speaking Tagalog. And good morning or good evening to those who are here in the United States.
Okay.
I have classmates who live in California from my nursing school, St. Paul's School of Nursing, which is now a university in Iloilo City. And also my high school classmates who are probably listening to this now. From Colegio de las Hijas de Jesus.
Okay. Now, John, you have the floor para sa unang question or unang tanong kay Ate Zen.
Yes, Ate Zen. You're a nurse pala, no? So very nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to know how you started with Fil-Am Cancer Care.
Well, it was really by chance. You know, I went to attend this exposition of the book called Catholic. It was the first book that was published in the Philippines. It was called Christiana Doctrina, and it was actually exhibited in the Library of Congress 2 years ago. And so I have a cousin in Rome, see Father John Brillantes, who told me, Prima, can you attend? You know, since you're not that far from Washington, D.C., do you think you can represent the family? You know, it's the Balderas Baviera clan of the Principalia of Banate, Iloilo. And so Father John said, can you please do that for the family? And I said, okay. And so he said, you know, I'm going to introduce you to another person who is going to be the who is a coordinator for this event, and it was Rocky Brito. So that was the first time I met Rocky, and also I met Josie there, and Josie was the one who actually she interviewed me for a short time at the Library of Congress. And we had a couple of, you know, former ambassadors who were there. I met some of them. I met some of the folks, you know, from Josie's team. I don't think I met Emery Rich.
No.
You weren't here yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Josie. And eventually, Josie, you know, so she also interviewed me at that time. And also there were 2 other interviews that didn't have to do with FACC. it was something else, it was political parties. But anyway, so eventually she asked me, Nang Zen, would you be interested in joining the Filipino American Cancer Care? And so I said, that would be really interesting because, it's something that, that I would like to be involved in because my mother, died of colon cancer. Okay. So it was something that I was interested in and wanted to be involved in because I wanted to help all of these other people who maybe don't know much about cancer, who need to be educated about cancer, who need to be aware of what cancer is and what the symptoms are and the treatments. So that's how I got involved when Josie invited me to, become part of this organization.
Mm-hmm. And we are very thankful na kasali siya sa ating FACC, and Ate Zen is very supportive since the inception of the Filipino American Cancer Care. Now, Emmerich, it's your turn.
Yeah. So, Ate Zen, I've known you for a short period of time, but my impression is you are the sweetest young lady that I
Teka
know.
muna, sweetest, siya lang ba?
Hey, and then and so my question is, of course, this character came from somewhere, growing up somewhere. So if you can give us a little bit of a background about you, and of course, I'm sure on the story together with your mom's story as well, because you spend your time.
Well, yes, and I've been asked that question about in a very different way. It's like, how did you come here? How did you come to this place, right? Well, growing up, my father was, he was a doctor. He was a very strict person. And he was actually the one who really formed me to become a nurse. I actually had no choice. God bless him. How parents are very...
Yung pangarap mo noon sa buhay?
That really was not my first choice. Nursing was not my first choice.
What
my
was it?
Choice was actually to become a diplomat. I wanted to join the diplomatic corps in the Philippines, but no. So I didn't get to do that. My father said, no nursing, no school. Okay. So I had
no foreign relation.
I had no choice, so I had to go into nursing. And my clinical instructors at St. Paul's knew that my heart really wasn't in nursing, but I did so well, in nursing school. One of our principal, actually, Sister Carol, was the one who really brought me up, into nursing and kept me there. She said, you know what, Zenaida, I really saved you from nursing. She saved me for nursing so I could complete my nursing degree. So I thank my father for that because I never regretted it. I met a lot of great friends and, my classmates who were really very good. I mean, St. Paul's was one of the Ivy League schools, in the Philippines for nursing. So to be a part of that school, that you're going to do well, not only personally, but also, if you're out there in the world, you throw yourself out there in the world, you're going to do well. And I think my father knew that. Uh-huh. So that's how, I came into nursing.
Yeah.
But then
Yes. Go ahead, Ate Zen. Yeah, please.
If I'm talking about myself?
Yes. Okay, you're fine.
So my father was a very great influencer, in my life. And I thank him for that. And I thank my mother for being supportive, because even though I was a rebellious child, I can tell you this, I don't tell too many people about
it. I can even see that on you. I can see that on you.
You wouldn't believe that I think I was 16 or 17 years old, I ran away from home.
Si Emerich, yan ang sinasabi ko sa'yo. Ilongga yan, ha?
That's
Ilongga
it.
yan.
I ran away from home. I couldn't stand my father. I ran away from home. I was actually still in high school. I can remember that.
Ate Zen, despite of the fact na ang tatay mo is psychiatrist, di ba?
Yes.
Rebelde ka pa rin?
Well, because, you know, he should have known better, right?
Sina-psychoanalyst siya every day eh.
What do you think? He's psychoanalyzing me every single day?
Aha.
It's like, don't read my diary. Don't come into my room.
What your space?
Give me my space. No, he was checking on me every time. I couldn't date. I couldn't go out on dates. I couldn't. If I had a chaperone, no dates in high school. Nothing.
Freaking parents. That's what I say.
Ikaw ba yung panganay?
Parents.
Are you the eldest?
No, I'm actually the second, and I'm the only girl. So I have two brothers, one elder and one younger.
Wonder.
So he was very protective of you.
Very.
Kasi nga, ikaw naman, mahilig ka sigurong, makipag-boyfriend.
Adventure.
Ikaw ang prinsesa.
Yeah, diba?
I think he
That's
was
it.
trying to protect me from the outside world.
Mhm.
So I was very sheltered. That's what I would say. I was very sheltered.
Mhm.
But it actually taught me to, be very respectful of myself and of other people, and to respect their space. So that was one of the values that he taught us, is to be respectful also of your elders. So I went into nursing. I graduated. I from St. Paul's. People thought that I would never pass my exams because I didn't really study that well. And at that time, I actually got married. So I married very young.
Nagrebelde nga talaga, Emerich?
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
did. My parents were waiting for me to come to the United States with them, but since I was graduating from nursing school, I didn't wait. So I got married 10 days after my graduation from nursing.
Emerich, dyan, ibang klase ang story nito. ha?
Makatas,
Nakaka-relate ako.
makatas tong istorya na to.
Sabi ni Jan Andrada, nakaka-relate daw siya kasi ganyan din
Dapat
siya.
magkwentuhan pa tayo sa more, Tita.
That's a whole new interview. I think that's a different show.
Pero di ba, Tita Zen, once a nurse, always a nurse. It's like a calling.
Yes.
Not really some sort of a profession, but, it's a calling. And
It's
ano yung tawag?
it truly is a calling, because you become a servant leader.
Yeah, vocation.
One of my colleagues, told me when I was working with, I belong to a few different organizations here, in New Jersey. And one of them is the New Jersey Statewide Network for Cultural Competence. And the very first chair for this network used that word, servant leader, because you're serving people and yet you're a leader. Because you're providing, guidance and training and education to other people. So the nursing profession really, opened up all of these opportunities for me to become, other things than just, well, I'm not going to say than just a nurse, but on top of being a nurse,
Yeah.
So I worked with the Department of Health here in New Jersey as a quality assurance specialist with the birth defects registry. And, in New Jersey, we're a very highly regulated state. So we have a regulation here. There's a mandate here for infants from birth through 6 to be registered with us, with the Department of Health, the birth defects registry, if you have a child who is diagnosed or with a birth defect. So you know what a birth defect is and all that. So the mandate covers all kids from 0 to 6. So you can still register children after the age of 6 under case management. If you think that the child needs or the family needs additional services for the child who has chronic medical conditions or has a birth defect.
Okay. Now let's talk about your mom, no? Yung nanay mo nga na sabi mo nag-concentrate siya sa kanyang pamilya dahil gusto niya kayong palakihin na maayos. Pero ikaw nga, nagrebelde.
Halfway, just halfway.
Dito
Halfway, no. I'm a good person.
Umalis ka sa bahay ninyo. Anong sabi ng nanay mo?
Yes, my mother. My mother, I tell you, was an angel. She was the like the wings beneath my,
The wind beneath your
the
wings.
wind beneath the wings, so she was covering me with her wings of protection. And she was my friend because she was the only one I could talk to about, problems and
About
issues.
love life.
While I was growing up. Not so much about love life because
The diary that's being read by your
By your
dad.
dad.
yes.
Mom, my
Secret.
diary. Dad, read my diary.
Alam mo, Emily, naalala ko rin yan. Mayroon din akong diary. Tapos dito na sa Amerika, nakita nung asawa ko.
Journal.
So she was a very generous woman. She was she became a president of the Association for Priestly Vocations. Because she was also not only an advocate but a supporter of my cousin who went into the seminary. So my family helped Father John, in the seminary, and he became a really good priest, and he's been in Rome for over, I guess, going on maybe 15 years now. So so he's in charge of like the Filipino education of priests there in Rome.
Very nice. Is he in the Vatican or?
He works in the Vatican.
Oh, okay. He
Yes.
probably know my uncle, Father Memeng.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to ask him.
Absolutely.
Yes, but my mother was always helping, people who needed help financially. She also helped, of course, her other siblings who needed assistance or who didn't have enough resources to do things and get things done, in their lives. So this is what she was. She had a very big heart.
So, when she was diagnosed with colon cancer, was it here in the United States or in the Philippines?
No, she had already gone home, Josie. So she was home. She was diagnosed there. I mean, I think way before she had her colostomy, that was in 2010. She was already having problems with, with her, with constipation. She was having problems with her constipation and moving her bowels and all that until eventually the surgery that she had was to remove part of the colon because it wasn't working anymore. So her abdomen got distended. And because of that, she wasn't, able to like move her bowels anymore and all that. So her abdomen became very big. It became distended. So they decided to operate and just put in a colostomy. So she had a colostomy for 2 years before she died.
Okay, John?
My question is, Tita Zen, were you able to assist your mom while she was going through the cancer?
Well, that was my only regret, was that I was already here, in the United States. I was working with the Department of Health, and before she got sick, I was only going home like every 3 years. I wasn't going home enough. But at least like in 2010, when she had this problem, my husband and I decided to like go home every year. So so I did go home when she had her surgery, and I stayed for a few weeks. And then because I was very conflicted about this, because I had my work, here with the Department of Health. I was already working with the Department of Health, and then I had my mother back in the Philippines, and it was 30,000 miles away. I just couldn't drive, 1 hour to get to her and take care of her. So we had a helper who actually was her helper for many years, si Beth, and Beth stayed on with her, and I had a private duty nurse come to the house to help Beth learn how to take care of the colostomy. So she did colostomy care while I was gone. So she was a really very big help. But of course, that was kind of like the one of the things while I was working that I could do and to help out, financially. So so I was really torn at this stage, while she was sick. So every year I would go home, to visit with her. And then eventually I saw that, she also had Alzheimer's disease, which is really very bad because, it's a neurodegenerative disease, and it usually starts slowly and then it progressively gets worse.
Yeah.
Was she diagnosed with Alzheimer's here
Yes,
in the US?
she was. She was also diagnosed with Alzheimer's together with the colon cancer. So I think she already was starting having dementia even a few years before she was formally diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Some of the symptoms of Alzheimer's is, you forget recent events.
Mhm.
If you have this now, you're forgetting.
Parang ako yan yata.
You're forgetting recent events. It's like, where did I put my glasses?
Pero Ate Zen, tayo naman lahat dahil nagmo-multitask, hindi ko na alam kung saan ko nilagay.
Nasa ulo pala natin yung glasses.
Then you find it's on top of your head, right? So those are some of the problems. And then, the more advanced it gets, you're having problems with language, with orientation, with mobility. So she was having all of these problems that's so common with Alzheimer's disease.
Oh my.
And then she had this colostomy. So while I was there, I was also taking care of her and doing the colostomy care myself. So I would sleep with her in the same bed. And it's like, sleeping with your mother when you were very young, That's what we all did. We slept with our parents,
Yeah.
in the same bed. So
Emmerich, just a moment. Emmerich, you have a question?
No, so it's the story that you're telling us. I'm thinking, you're giving us the perspective of having, as a daughter, taking care or helping your mother to her journey on the cancer, and then at the same time the Alzheimer journey, at the same time with being here away from home, away from her. All of this when you're speaking with your mom, because I'm sure you're always on the phone.
Yes.
What's the conversation look like? What does she talk about? What does she have a wishes every time that you guys talk?
How did you deal with that?
Well, that was also very difficult because at the time that she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, she was also having a hard time at that time, to really like remember things, so I would talk to her about her sisters, her brothers, and many of them, a few of them had already passed away, before her death in 2012. Like some of her younger brothers passed away before she did, So I was just trying to like reorient her to like her family, like what did we do in the past? Like here were some happy moments that we had. Did you remember that time that we went to Cebu? Because I took her to Cebu before this whole colon cancer diagnosis was made. So I was really very happy that I went home at that time. Like it must have been like 3 years before she was diagnosed, and my husband and I went home and we took her on a trip to Cebu, with one of the other caretakers, Denya. Denya has been with us for many years since my twins were born. So, it's like Denya grew up with me, in the same household where the kids were born, so she's really part of the family. And so I took Denya with us. And so we really enjoyed that time that we had in Cebu. We went to one of these resorts in Cebu, and my mother really loved that. So I would talk to her about that. And then until such time that she could no longer talk on the phone. Because that's
At
what
that
happened.
time, Ate Zen, yung father mo was still alive.
No,
She was
he
diagnosed.
died way before this. He died like 10 years before.
Mhm.
So, he also had complications of, he was late onset diabetes. He had, some cardiac conditions, just a whole lot of other things. So he actually died of complications of diabetes and heart disease.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
Jan?
Oh yeah, Tita Zen, during the time that you were here in the United States and then your mom was there, so as far as management is concerned, of course, you as a nurse here in the States, you have some different kind of approach, and sometimes you would get, the medical management, and then you don't really agree. Because I see a lot of other nurses who do that, as far as their family back home is. So how are you able to handle that? Of course, because there's some frustrations and you're not there to really like administer it or something.
Yes, but the doctors she had were doctors that we trusted. Like she had a cardiologist because she also has a history of heart disease. So she had many conditions. She had, a history of heart disease that was brought about when she had rheumatic fever when she was very young. So she had a cardiologist, and I, every now and then I would, when I went home, I would talk to the cardiologist to find out like, what is his plan of care? And of course I, like he would go over this with me, and I would agree that, yes, this is basically, like the protocols. He's using the protocols that the doctors would use here because he was also trained here, and he would come to conferences here in the United States. So I was pretty confident that he was up to date, with the drugs and all of that, because I reviewed all the drugs that she was taking, and it was pretty much, the same drugs. But the only thing that I really, and this is still true, Jen, if you go home to the Philippines, nurses there don't have the same level of respect that the nurses have here, because here the nurses are really part of the medical team, the care team. And over there, it's like they're not treated the same. Nurses are not treated the same. It's like nurses can't make their decisions. Like, like if a person just had surgery, like the next day, you got to get the person up, right? The nurses can't do that. They have to wait for the doctor to give them the order. Oh yeah, out of bed, tomorrow. It's too late if it's tomorrow. So that was my one other complaint, was that when I went home and she had surgery, I said, why are you not even letting her sit in bed? She should be sitting down. She should be up on the floor, sitting on a chair.
She should be moving.
She should be moving. And they did not do that until I complained. I really complained. I said, you got to get her out of bed.
Right.
So I said, why can't you, a nurse, like tell the
Did you
doctor that she
wish-
has to be out of bed?
Yeah. Ate Zen, did you wish na sana nandito siya sa tabi mo nung time na yon na na-diagnose siya ng cancer?
Yes and no. actually, because she, she really wanted to be with more of her family, and she had more friends there in the Philippines. So she had relatives, she had her sister, her brother that was still alive, come to visit her. And some of the nieces and nephews who were there. So if she was here, I don't think she would have been happy. It would have been me wanting her to be here, and me
versus what she likes, where she wants to be.
Her versus what did she actually want. She wanted to go home. She wanted to be with family. Of course, I'm family, but I work during the day, so and I'm not here most of the time. So who would I leave her to? To a caretaker that I probably would not trust.
A nursing home.
A nursing home. I couldn't do that to her. So.
Plus, of course, some other patients, or like the senior ones, would like to belong to the most familiar environment, which will bring back memories, and that helps in their, understanding of where they are. So that's true. And like us nurses, we're patients advocates. So
yes, we are.
So we speak in behalf of the patient, and for you as the daughter, all the more that what your mom really wishes for,
what she wanted. Yeah,
it's fascinating how lucky we are that we have someone in our loved ones that can advocate. What would you advise on some patients out there that's now, probably a couple of days ago, they received before Thanksgiving a news that they're diagnosed with cancer or things like that, and someone who's right now in the treatment? What kind of advice, and also to, I guess, towards their caregivers or the family members, around the advocacy of what they should be looking at and what should be asking to the doctors or whatnot?
Well, if it's here, here you mean, Emmerich, if it's an elderly person who's diagnosed with cancer, I would first of all make that evaluation as to how much does this person know about the condition or her cancer. There's always a question of, like, some family members don't want to tell the person that they have cancer. It's like, just let her live her life without her knowing. But so you have to make that decision as a family. Do you want this person, your mother or your father, to know that he has cancer so that he can prepare himself? Because you have to prepare yourself, not just physically, but with God. First of all, you have to prepare yourself with God, and then you can settle with other things. I think that was one of the sermons this morning, is how to prepare yourself. So prepare yourself, be at peace, with yourself. Are you at peace with yourself, with God, and with other people that you may have, like, hurt in the past? And how do they want their care? You can ask that person, like if it's your mother, do you want, mom, you're diagnosed with this, and this is your protocol. This is the treatment for your condition. You're going to have to go through this. So, if we want you to live a longer life, and you want to see, your grandchildren growing up, and if this is going to be a way of prolonging, their life, is okay, this is what we want you to have. Is this something that you want? I would say that they have to participate in their own care, and that's the important thing.
right.
Okay. At this point in time, Ate Zeno, kasi nga sabi mo, yung mother mo nagkaroon ng cancer, ikaw ba may mga takot ka rin, or do you have fears in terms of, about cancer, like you might...
Oh, yes. Yes, I do, because she had colon cancer, and my uncle also died of colon cancer, her brother. So I have been monitoring myself, and I go for a colonoscopy every 5 years. As a matter of fact, I just had my colonoscopy this past Thursday. So you cleanse yourself out and you get the procedure done, and the doctor comes out and tells you, high five, you're clear. So for the last 15 years, I've been having this done, and every 5 years you get it done, and so far so good.
I have that colonoscopy and endoscopy at the same time, the age of 38. Ang
Yes.
sarap palang matulog.
Yeah.
So part of the plan of care for cancer people are also patient education.
It's patient
and family-
education.
and family involvement. So they're also, your parents are so lucky because you know how to manage it. It paid off for being a nurse.
Yeah, but plus, I also tried to supervise, Beth when she first did this, the colonoscopy, the colostomy care.
Ano
Because,
ba yung tinatawag? What is colostomy care? Yeah.
it's colostomy care because it's a bag that you put, on the stomach. It's where the end of the intestines are, where you, where you
the waste
put
bag.
out. Yeah.
A waste bag.
Right. It's a bag. So she has to know how to do that daily. It's
Oh my
every
gosh.
day you have to change that bag and to make sure that it's clean around the area, because if you don't clean it, you can get an infection from
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
So she did very well. I was really happy with her.
Wow.
She was really very good. And Beth is also like a member of the family now because she's been with us for over 40 years. And Denya has been with us since my kids were born. She was my yaya.
Well,
Yeah.
can you imagine if you don't have any help? Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
You're suffering from colon cancer and you need to have that colostomy care.
Yeah, there's a special training for that, so that
Right. And to imagine that Beth wasn't even a trained nurse, or she wasn't an LPN or anything.
Oh, wow.
But she was arrisgada. She knew how to, do things quickly, and she learned quickly. And I had a nurse, be there for, I think, 2 weeks
Yeah.
until she really learned how to do it. So although I felt really bad leaving my mother there, I knew that Beth could do it.
In
So-
great hands. She's in the loving hands. So that's really good.
Mm-hmm. So-
Okay.
Yeah, because dito sa US, that's a specialized kind of nursing field that you go from, for the patients, they just go there for an hour of colostomy care, and then they get paid by the hour. So that's
Yeah.
a blessing that you have someone who could really be trained at the bedside of your mom.
Right. So so I was glad I became a nurse.
When she was still alive and very healthy, ano ba yung mga sinabi niya sa'yo? Like for example, what were her words of wisdom sa'yo bilang anak?
Well, it was always like, follow your dream, and don't be afraid, because you have to take those risks, So when I remarried in 2001, she was here for that wedding. I married Bill at that time. It's been 20 years actually, and when we got married, she, it was a very, very nice place. One of the, wedding venues here in New Jersey. Actually, it's not too far from home. It's in West Orange. It's called the High Lawn Pavilion. She says, oh my gosh, she said, every woman should get married this way.
Wait a minute, kasi
It
diba
really made her happy because it was so
Ate
beautiful.
Zen, di ba kayo Katoliko and then you married someone who's a Jewish?
Jewish, yes.
Okay, so you were married in a Jewish church or a
No,
Catholic?
we were married in a gazebo here in West Orange at the High Lawn Pavilion. But in 2018, when I finally got my my Catholic divorce, I got married again in a Catholic church here at Seton Hall. the Seton Hall Chapel in 2018. So I was married twice to the same man.
Of course.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Tita Zen, you mentioned that you have twins.
Yes.
That's one thing that we have in common also. I also
Oh, you have twins.
Talagang relate na relate si Jan, ha?
It was a very difficult delivery because my twins, I didn't know that it was twins. And the OBGYN, the doctor didn't also know it was twins.
Oh my gosh. What? They're on top of each other so they could count it
Yeah,
one.
it was actually, they call it a vertical lie. So one is like this and the other one is in the back. She couldn't hear the second heartbeat. And at that time, we didn't have pelvic oximetry yet. We just had an ultrasound in the Philippines. So she was going to do an X-ray like that week, and then I went into labor. And so when the one twin was born, she didn't know that there was another twin. And she said,
There's another head.
I know. Why is the placenta not coming out? After 20 minutes, she stuck her hand in and a hand came out. So she got really scared. I became like one of these OBGYN cases, so they would talk about this case, when you have a baby who's in vertical lie, the only way you can get that child out is actually through cesarean section.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't happen because they had to do internal podalic version, and she had to put another doctor in and turn the child.
Yeah.
So
So what was your mom's reaction when she found out that you gave birth to twins?
she couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. They were already here in the U.S. When I gave birth, when I had the twins. But my in-laws at that time, the grandmother was there in the hospital, jumping up and down, at the hospital and saying, "Twins! It's twins! It's twins!"
She probably says, "I got one for me."
Yeah,
Because then you're really full of surprises.
I know.
That time, yeah.
I really, all my classmates were, they were starting to just, work. We had just graduated like a year, and some of my classmates stayed with me, in the hospital. And my clinical instructor was, she was instructing all the other new nurses coming in about this case.
I was just thinking now that I was thinking of Kuya Ed because he's not here today, right? But he's probably watching, of course. But one of the questions that popped in my head about Kuya Ed is he's gonna ask. I know we know that you're Filipino, but we want to know what's your favorite Filipino food.
Oh,
and
she's a good cook.
if you can cook it.
I have a lot of favorite Filipino foods, actually. So I like sinigang, and my husband loves sinigang. I also like palabok. I like crabs. Josie, the crabs that you had there, that was terrific. And what else? The Valenciana.
Ilonggo food.
Yeah. Excuse me. Apan-apan.
Alam mo yung apan-apan, Emerich?
No, ano yun?
Alam mo yung takway?
Tangkong.
Takway, may takway na parang ano siya yung tawag dito. Teka muna. I-google ko.
No. Apan-apan, Emerich, is
Kangkong na adobo.
the kangkong, kangkong.
Yeah.
You chop it like
Okay.
like this, in pieces,
Yeah.
and then you cook it with bagoong.
Oh my
So it's
God.
binagoongan na kangkong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's apan-apan. We call that apan-apan. I
Yes.
love
yeah.
And then yung takway naman, ito yung long and slender na stolon ng isang taro. Yung gabi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the
Tapos,
slimy one, the thin slimy thing. That's
Yes.
takway.
and then
Oh
it's
my.
gonna be like, we called it as dagmay. And then we would cook it with, ano ba yun? Yung
Coconut.
shrimp paste.
Bagoong.
Shrimp paste, bagoong.
Shrimp paste.
Yeah. Parang
Wow.
sa Filipino, I mean Tagalog version naman is Laing? Hindi.
Lala.
Ay, hindi,
Alaing.
iba. Mm-mm.
Iba.
Yun na alam
Wow.
ko sa kangkong na niluto.
At
Yeah,
saka
I
yung
know.
mga taga Iloilo, mahilig yan sa batchoy.
Oh, I was gonna say that.
I forgot.
That's my favorite.
Thank you for reminding me. But choy is the best.
O marunong yan
Wow.
magluto, ha?
Batchoy.
Sa FACC, pwede na tayo magpa-festival ng batchoy.
Ang sarap. With the
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Bachoyan.
gosh. Now I'm
We
hungry.
go to the Bachoyan in Jersey City here.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Meron ba dito sa DMV area?
Bachoy?
Yeah.
Meron.
And
meron.
Ilonggo can make that, Jan.
I don't know how to make that.
Oh
Parang
no.
mami lang siya.
Parang
You
mami
need
naman
you need to
talaga yan.
send the ingredients and the way to cook it to Josie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josie, that's a challenge for you being
I don't know how to make it.
Yeah.
I only eat it.
I think I would be able to cook it. Ang problema lang, kung dalawa lang kami ang kakain. Tapos, yung kasama ko, hindi naman kakain. Nagsayang lang ako ng oras, di ba?
Madali lang yun, i-announce mo lang sa Facebook. Maraming bibisita sa'yo.
In-announce ko na nga, ang daming humingi.
Oh, di ba?
You see?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
So,
my.
Ate Zen, how do you take care of yourself at this point in time na yun na nga, may history kayo ng cancer sa family?
Yeah. Well, you really have to eat healthy and live healthy. You can't, for me, I also try to avoid, because I'm also pre-diabetic, so you also try to avoid all these foods that will lead towards like heart disease. Don't eat too much fried foods. We eat a lot of fish and vegetables and not so much red meat. So as much as possible, we avoid red meat. I will eat veal, like every now and then, but it's mostly vegetables and fish, chicken, and turkey. So you have to have a healthy diet, a lot of fruits, but I also have to be careful about the fruits that I eat because some of them are like really very sweet. So, if you're diabetic or you're trying to watch your sugar, you can't eat a lot of grapes, So, and other sweet fruits. So apples and all of that. So a lot of healthy food, fruits and vegetables. I really don't drink soda. It's mostly water. I don't drink, I don't smoke. So you have to have healthy habits,
How about Bill? Is Bill included on this on this healthy
I
living?
tell you, Bill had a slight heart attack in 2005, and he's been very cautious. He also has a family history of heart disease. His father died when he was 62. So that's why he's been very careful. And Bill already had a quadruple bypass in
my goodness.
2005. So thank goodness we found that early. So and he didn't have any heart damage or anything, but he had blockages in his main artery and in some of the the arteries leading to the heart. So he's very careful about his diet. I mean, so far
That's good.
so far,
Good.
knock on wood, yes. So we avoid, foods that are high in cholesterol, So I don't use butter. I use Smart Balance, So all of those things. For him, he uses a lot of egg whites instead of like the eggs and all that.
Yeah.
So it's, you can eat eggs.
That's really good. It's very helpful, those information that you just shared.
Yes.
Right. So you have to have a healthy lifestyle. You can't smoke and drink, all the time.
Mhm.
Um,
And you need to sleep.
and you need to have a good night's rest because
Yeah.
that also helps.
Yeah.
Plus, I like
Okay.
also, Tita Zen, that you mentioned about the spiritual readiness, preparedness.
Yes, you have to. I mean, as Catholics or even as Christians, we always have to think about that first, because what are we here in this world for anyway? We live, we die. That's it.
And I think it doesn't have to be like we will be stricken of any disease. It's just being prepared regardless if we have a disease or not, right?
Exactly, because I tell you, you don't know when your number is going to be called. Each of us has a number. We don't know when that number is going to be called. You just don't know. Even the angels in heaven don't know when that day is.
Okay. So thank you so much, Ate Zen, Ate Zenaida Deza Steinhauer, for sharing your time and of course, yung pag-pay tribute natin sa kanyang mother na namatay sa colon cancer. And we will see you again sa meeting ng FACC. Guys, thank you so much. John, do you have any last messages?
Yeah, so thank you very much for this very fruitful discussion about how we also manage, people with cancer, especially if it's also our part of our family. But going back to the first question that we asked, what are we grateful for this Thanksgiving? So,
Right.
maybe we could ask Josie this time, diba?
We have
Sure,
1 minute.
right, Joseph?
Ay, ako ba?
We have a minute. What are you
I'm
thankful
not
for?
even focusing. I'm thankful for the gift of life.
Yeah.
Yay.
Perfect.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I am thankful for everyone and my health and my family.
Well, Emmerich, you're very healthy kasi kita ko naman ang muscle. Oh.
Hey, healthy is not, so you gotta be inside too. So
Yeah.
Right.
How about you, Ate Zen?
Well, I'm really thankful for everything that God has provided us. Family, friends, a roof over our heads, all the abundant graces, and His mercies. So that's what I'm thankful for, and it covers everything.
All right.
For
So
me.
thank you so much. Oh, by the way, si
I
Jen
forgot
pala.
about me. Yeah, of course, definitely the foremost that we are grateful for is for God who gave His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, who died for our sins. And this is our, the blessings that we receive is just given back to Him for His glory.
Yes.
So thank
Yes.
you very much, and everyone have a happy Thanksgiving Day.
Happy
Very well
Thanksgiving.
said. Yes. Happy Thanksgiving, Emmerich.
Happy
Thanksgiving, John.
Happy Thanksgiving,
and Ate
everybody.
Zen. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us dito sa ating radio show on the air with FACC.
FACC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV.